A sprout company was warned by the FDA last year. Serious violations, the agency called them. Nothing changed. And now, 55 people in 15 states are sick, with not one but 3 different strains of bacteria traced back to the same 5-ounce plastic container sitting in grocery store coolers across the Midwest. This is the Everything Sprouts outbreak, and it's stranger and more troubling than most recalls we cover. Let's start with what federal investigators actually found. Since late May, alfalfa sprouts distributed by Everything Sprouts LLC, a Minneapolis grower, have been linked to 55 confirmed illnesses. 46 of those are Shiga toxin-producing E. coli. 7 are Salmonella. 2 people were infected with both at the same time. 4 people have been hospitalized. No deaths so far. Here's what makes this outbreak unusual, and I mean that in the clinical sense, not just as a headline word. Most foodborne outbreaks trace back to a single bacterial strain, one contamination event, one genetic fingerprint, one story. This one doesn't work that way. Investigators identified at least 3 distinct E. coli strains circulating through the same product line, O168H8, O103H25, and O26H11. 3 separate contamination signatures, all coming out of the same facility. That's not what a single spill or a single bad batch looks like. That's what a systemic sanitation failure looks like, the kind where contamination isn't a one-time accident, but a recurring condition of how a facility operates. So how did investigators connect the dots? Of the 37 patients interviewed, 26 said they'd eaten alfalfa sprouts in the weeks before getting sick. That's better than 70%. Minnesota and Wisconsin absorbed the brunt of it, with 21 to 23 cases in Minnesota alone, and another 18 in Wisconsin, which lines up with where the company actually distributed product. Wholesalers and grocery stores in those 2 states shipped out steadily from May 27 all the way through August 21. On August 19th, the FDA showed up at the Everything Sprouts facility to inspect and collect samples. 2 days later, the company issued a voluntary recall covering specific lots, 222, 223, 225, 226, and 230, sold under both the Everything Sprouts and Calco brand names. The recall isn't limited to plain sprouts either. It extends to the crunchy protein sprout mix and the zesty garlic mix cups, because both were made using the same contaminated sprouts as an ingredient. Now here's the detail that should give you pause. Everything Sprouts has said publicly that its own daily testing throughout the outbreak period never produced a single positive result. Not one. And yet federal investigators, using traceback and epidemiological evidence, not the company's internal testing, identified this facility as the source. That's not necessarily evidence of a cover-up. Sprout contamination is notoriously difficult to detect through routine sampling because pathogens can hide in seed lots and only bloom under the humid, warm conditions sprouts are grown in, conditions that also happen to be ideal for bacterial growth. But it does raise a real question worth asking on camera. If a company's own testing regime can run clean for weeks while people are getting sick, how much should consumers actually trust "we tested it and it's fine" as a food safety claim? And this is where the FDA's history with this company matters. This is not Everything Sprouts' first encounter with federal regulators. Records show the FDA inspected this same facility last year and cited it for serious violations. We don't yet know publicly whether those violations were fully corrected or whether they're connected to what's happening now. The agency hasn't drawn that line explicitly, but the pattern is worth sitting with. A facility flagged once, and now at the center of a 55-person, 15-state, 3-strain outbreak. If you have Everything Sprouts or Calco brand alfalfa sprouts in your fridge, especially the crunchy protein sprout mix or zesty garlic mix cups, check the lot numbers on the container. If they match 222, 223, 225, 226, or 230, Don't eat them. Throw them out and clean and sanitize anything they touched, including your refrigerator shelves and any cutting surfaces. E. coli and Salmonella infections don't always announce themselves clearly. Watch for severe stomach cramps and diarrhea, often bloody, along with fever. If you've eaten these products and you're experiencing those symptoms, seek medical attention and tell your doctor specifically about the exposure, because these infections require targeted testing to diagnose correctly. The investigation is still active. The case count has climbed before, and health officials expect it may climb again before this is over. If this kind of investigation matters to you, hit that like button so more people see it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Stay safe and stay tuned, because these stories only get told if enough of us are paying attention.